Hi everyone, this is Luxtos, and today I'm bringing you another Diablo 4 leveling guide. This time around is going to be for Barbarian. We're going to do Upheaval build. So this one is going to be really fun. Big two-hander weapon, slapping the ground and leaving the ground unturned. This is going to be a fun one. It's pretty tanky. It has really good defensive and movement speed and damage because you're going to be in Berserking pretty much all the time. You're going to be running with Wrath of the Berserker. It's going to be really fun. You're going to have also some nice mobility tools. So pretty good build all around. I think you're going to do really well. And to go over, we are going to do the skill tree first. And then we're going to go over your technique that you're going to want to use, the legendaries, the gem, and all of that good stuff, and also your wanted gear. So before we get started, we are going to talk about the skill tree over here for the Barbarian. So very straightforward. We're going to go for Lunging Strike. It gives you access to a little bit of range as you're attacking and makes you kind of leap towards your target. Really nice. We're going to get some nice Berserking with Upheaval here with Berserking as well. It's going to be really nice. That's going to be super fun. You're going to get Challenging Shout over here for some defensive layer. So that's going to be nice damage reduction. Leap for a little bit of mobility and Fury regen. Death Blow for that sweet single target damage and allowing you also to pick off some random kills here and there every couple of seconds. This is just going to clear things really well. It's going to be really fun. And then when you don't manage to land the kill, you can fill in with the rest of your abilities. You're going to go for Wrath of the Berserker, and then we're going to go for Unconstrained to simply buff that duration and that damage. You're going to be hitting hard. You're going to be running fast. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. So instead of just leaving this here, we're going to go point by point for what you should be looking for. So I have side notes over here on the side with every single point listed. We're going to go with them one by one. Please take this with a grain of salt because as you're leveling, you're going to see that you're doing enough damage. Maybe you're not enough tanky. You need a little bit more survivability. You want to tweak these as you go. I'm going to give you like the big line, but feel free to modify things as you go. There's rarely a wrong answer here. Make sure that you get your main ability to the max level, like your main damage dishing ability. You want those to hit the highest level that they can get according to the build. And then everything else, you just want to go as a filler, pretty much according to if you need more damage or defensive. So let's get started here. Lunging Strike, very straightforward. We're going to go for the Enhanced Lunging Strike here, which is going to be nice. A little bit of a heal, always good. We're going to go with Upheaval, which is going to be our main ability. And then we're going to go down for the Enhance here. It has a chance to stun enemy, which is going to be really nice. It's going to give you that nice crowd control damage. And then we're going to go for Violent Upheaval for that Berserk. So every time you hit more than 2 enemy, you get an extra 2 seconds for your Berserking. And then if you hit 4 target, it's going to give you 3. So this is not going to work for bosses. That's why we are also going to pick Combat Lunging Strike, which is going to give you that chance of getting extra Berserking here, which is going to be pretty neat every time you crit with this ability here. So you're going to get a little bit more uptime. And if you don't manage to, you're going to have Wrath of the Berserker to fall back on and to guarantee you Berserking during boss encounters and elites. So that's going to be really nice. We're going to go for Challenging Shout. It's just going to give you a nice defensive layer really early on. If you feel like there's a lot of enemies and you're taking a lot of damage, just get that damage reduction rolling and you'll be good to go. We are going to put the rest of our 5 points here in Upheaval to make sure that it does as much damage as possible. So you want to scale this up as high as possible. You don't want to start picking other ability along the path and leave this at 1 out of 5 for your entire leveling playthrough. You're going to fall off in damage and it's not going to go well. We're going to pick Leap, Enhance Leap for the cooldown reduction, but most importantly, the extra Fury. So pretty much every 17 seconds, if you leap onto enemies, you'll get free Fury. So you'll be able to start the fight a little bit better. It's going to give you that little kickstart. We're immediately going to go for 2 points into Pressure Point here. That's going to give you a chance to apply Vulnerable. So this is your first chance to apply Vulnerable. We're going to have, so this is going to be super useful. We're going to have another way to apply it here. So you should have pretty good uptime. We're going to go finish this one off a little bit later because we just unlock Death Blow. And once you get Death Blow, this is going to really get you some nice clearing speed here because this is going to hurt a lot. You're going to be able to one-shot some monster. It's going to reset the cooldown. You do it again. It's really good. It has really good lucky hit proc as well. And then you're going to go for the enhance, and you're going to go for the warrior's death blow. That's going to give you, at least if you damage one enemy, you'll gain 3 seconds of berserking. So that's really, really nice. We're going to go in the same column here for Pit Fighter. We're going to put 3 point in here. You're going to get some nice increased damage. So that's going to be nice, and distant damage reduction, always really, really good. We're going to put 1 point in No Mercy, and then we're going to come back here in a second because we need Wrath of the Berserker, Prime Wrath, and Supreme Wrath. So this is just going to give you a cooldown that you can press pretty much every time you have a difficult enemy, every time you face a rare, a boss. This is going to give you Berserking. This is going to give you Unstoppable, and it's going to make your basic attack grant extended duration for Berserking. So this is going to be really, really good. It's going to give you movement speed and increase Fury regen, and it's going to increase your damage by quite a lot. So every time you spend Fury in this Wrath of the Berserker phase, you will increase the Berserker damage bonus by 25%. So the more Fury you can spend in this phase, the more damage you're going to do. It's going to ramp up really, really well, and it's going to do really good damage to burst those bosses down, especially if you do some death blow in there. They're going to hit really, really hard on bosses. It's going to be really, really good. After that, we're going to go for Tempered Fury and 3 points into Invigorating Fury. This is going to allow you to get a little bit more defensive layer, get some passive healing. I always like that. I'm a big fan of that. We're going to put 1 point into Hamstring. And right now you might be wondering, why the hell are we picking Hamstring? I don't have any bleed. What's going on? This is going to be a little bit conditional to you getting your legendary here, which is Aspect of the Berserking Ripping, which is going to be found in the Dry Steppes in one of the dungeon called the Mournfield. By completing the Mournfield in the Dry Steppe, whenever you deal direct damage while in Berserking, you inflict base damage dealt as bleeding over 5 seconds. So this will give you a little bit of additional damage that is going to be applied as bleeding over on the target, and that's going to be really, really good. And that's going to do just 30% extra damage pretty much with your ability, which is really nice. But then also you're going to start applying slow. So what's going to happen is, because you're going to be pretty much perma berserking, if you're using your lunging strike, your upheaval on more than 2 target, especially when you're cleaving and doing AoE, and then also with the death blow, that if you damage at least 1 target, this is going to be up a lot. You're just going to be doing 20% in this case extra damage for free, and because it's gone the AMI, it's going to be increased to 30%. So 30% extra damage because it's additional. And it's also going to give you the slow, which is going to trigger anything that does crowd control effect, right? So, for example, No Mercy here later on, when we're going to max it out, is going to give you more crit chance on slow targets. So that's going to be really good. You're just going to get 9% free crit chance every time you apply a bleed from Berserking. So that's going to be pretty good. That's going to be pretty solid. We're going to put 2 point in Expose Vulnerability here, to give you even more vulnerability uptime, because right now our uptime isn't too solid. So this is going to help out a little bit here. That's going to be nice. We're going to go for Unconstrained, which just opened up as one of our mastery points. So this is going to increase the maximum Berserker duration because it is capped. You cannot simply stack it to infinity. So this is going to give it an extra range of 5 seconds, and it's going to increase the bonus damage that it provides. So that's going to be really good. You're just going to start doing more damage from this ability. We're going to go back here and enhance Challenging Shout. So this is going to give you maximum life every time you press the button. That's a nice defensive layer. But Tactical Challenging Shout is what we're looking for here. Every time you get attacked after taunting, you're just going to get a ton of fury. You're just going to be slamming some upheaval. It's going to be really fun. Because right now you're getting pretty good uptime on your Berserking, we're going to go 3 point into Aggressive Resistance, free damage reduction, and then free Fury generation while Berserking. That's going to be really good. We're going to go finish the last point here, 3 out of 3 for Pressure Point, to make sure we have as much vulnerable uptime as we can. And then we're going to go put a couple of points into Death Blow. We can only put 4 in this build. You can try to finish it off if you want and get 5 and maybe drop another point elsewhere. That's completely going to be valid, but this is just going to make it do a little bit more damage, allowing you to get some quick, nice kills and get a little bit of more value here. We're going to finish off Expose Vulnerability here to make it increase in duration, and then we're going to finish off No Mercy here with another 2 points. Then we're going to go into Imposing Presence, so free additional life. You can get this earlier. Like I said, if you're feeling squishy, if you feel like you don't have enough HP and you feel like you're struggling, these points here, you can feel free to pick them up earlier on. You can sacrifice maybe a little bit of damage here. I prefer getting the life and all the other damage sources. But if you feel like you're getting killed too much, then feel free to pick these a little bit earlier. And then we're going to end the build with Wallop. 3 points in Wallop. This is if you're using a hammer weapon. It's going to increase the damage if the enemy is stunned or vulnerable, which you're going to be applying often because of Upheaval is going to stun pretty often. And then you're going to get some pretty good vulnerability. So this is pretty good. At the end of the day, this is if you manage to get a hammer. This would be pretty good. Like I said, this build is going to go based on a couple of things here. And one of the main thing is going to be that we don't want you to have to rely on multiple weapons. So there's a lot of good build around that relies on weapon swapping, having a lot of your ability use different type of weapons so that you weapon swap a lot. You get a lot of benefit out of those. The problem is while leveling, you're not going to be able to get a wide array of really good weapon. You're going to find one really good weapon, which is going to be a two-ender, and you're going to be using this for most of your ability, right? Because it's going to be the hardest hitting one. You're going to try to upgrade it. You're going to try to maintain it to be as high item level as possible. And most of your other weapon are going to be stat stick. You're going to be able to imprint legendary on them because you're not going to change them often. But you're going to want to have one big mace if possible so that you can use the two-ended mace because it works well with Berserking. It works well with vulnerable enemies as well and all that stuff. So this is just going to work really, really well, which is why I picked this. But if you can't manage to get a two-ender mace and you get a sword or whatever, it works as well. Just feel free to move it. Feel free to move it elsewhere. You don't have to put your points here. This is just like a suggestion because it works a little bit better with this build. So this is what it looks like for your your total of 58 points here that you're going to be placing into the talent tree. And then we're going to move on into the technique, which we just talked about. So as long as you're using a two-ender weapon, you're going to be good to go. So you can use the axe. It works well. It increases damage to vulnerable enemy. Really, really good. You can use even the sword. It's just going to do additional bleed damage. It's not bad. But this one doesn't do additional bleed. This one converts your damage into bleed and then increase the bleeding damage. So it's not the best one. I would go with either a mace or an axe. Those are going to be really good. I like the mace because it works well with Berserking as well and vulnerable. So we're going to be using that one right here for now. We're going to go into the legendary aspects. So for the gear, so we're going to cover them real quick. Aspect of Disobedience, one of the most broken defensive free legendary that you get. Make sure you get this one. Free armor, and armor is one of the best defensive layer in this game. It's really, really good. We're going to go for this one right here, which is going to be extending the duration of Berserking when we use a core ability, or it has a chance to extend it. So that's pretty good. So, and if you crit, it doubles the extension to 2 seconds. So that's just going to give you more uptime on Berserking. We're going to go for Ancestral Echo, another bit of damage. Feel free to swap these for additional defensive legendary if you feel like it, but these are going to be a little bit of extra damage, which are going to be nice. Every time you use Leap or Upheaval, you're going to get a free Ancient that is going to appear and do pretty much that ability at half the damage. So it's just a little bit of extra damage. It's really, really not bad. It's only every 5 seconds, but it's free damage. Aspect of the Protector is pretty nice, and it's easy to get in the first act. You're going to get a bubble, a barrier every time you damage an elite, every 30 seconds. And then this one is a looting aspect. It's going to allow you to free yourself from crowd control. If you get hit by a crowd control and you lose life, you become injured, it's going to free you from it every 40 seconds, and it's going to give you unstoppable. So that's really good. We talked about this one earlier, aspect of the Berserk Ripping. So this is going to give you additional free damage as a bleed, and it's going to allow you to simply apply the free bleed, which is going to give you slow, which is going to give you a crowd control, which is really, really nice. Edge Master. So this is very straightforward. So the more resources you have, the more damage you do. If you're at full resource when you use Upheaval, you get 3% 10 damage. That's pretty good. And then every time you use a basic skill with this one, with the Expectant, it will stack up, ramp up. So you can use a couple of Lunging Strike, get to max Fury, launch an Upheaval, and it should hit for really, really hard. As you can see, we don't have anything on the weapon. I usually suggest people to not aspect legendary on their weapon because you're going to swap your weapon a lot. It is more important to have a very strong weapon at high item level. It is very, very important to have that because that's going to dictate how much damage you do, and it scales really, really hard, right? So the damage on your weapon is going to be one of the best modifier you can get, and that's going to allow you to ramp up your damage as much as possible. If you keep aspecting it, it's going to cost you 10k, 20k gold, and it's just going to keep going up. And it's with your level and the item level of the gear, right? So it's going to go up in cost of gold. You're going to throw all your gold at this while you're leveling, and it's going to be a problem. Feel free to aspect the rest of your gear. You're not going to change it that often, but your weapon, I usually don't suggest it, except for your one-enders and the weapon that you're not going to be using for your main attack, right? So feel free to most of these don't have a requirement, so they're all just two-ender. This one is two-ender, this one is any weapon and any weapon. So what I would recommend is go for your hardest hitting weapon. I suggest getting a nice two-ended mace so that you can work with the technique of the two-ended mace, which is good. And simply use this for most of your abilities so that you get the most damage out of it. And then feel free to use the rest of them as stat sticks. It doesn't matter what item level they are, as long as they have good stats, and then you can put legendaries on them and get some additional value. For your gem, as soon as you can apply the bleed pretty consistently and apply the slow, this is going to work for stun, for slow, for pretty much everything you have in your toolkit. This is going to give you free damage on crowd control. If you want, feel free as well to use critical strike damage to vulnerable. Depending on where you are in your build, depending on if you're noticing that you're applying more crowd control or more vulnerable. If you're applying pretty vulnerable pretty consistently, feel free to use an emerald. If you have your bleed and everything is always slowed, then feel free to use sapphire. This is going to be really, really good. Ruby for armor, just straightforward. Max HP is always good, max life. And then armor is just the best stats. More armor is good. It gives you resistance. It gives you everything you need. All the good defensive layer. It's just a really OP stats. It's just really, really good. You almost never have too much of this. So this is going to be really, really good. Unless your resistance are really, really weak. But usually armor, it seems to be one of the best defensive stats you can have. For the wanted gear, it's going to be really straightforward. You're going to want vitality, max life, strength, plus skills to upheaval. That's really, really good. Plus skill to death blow even would be pretty good. Crowd control damage, vulnerable damage, crit chance, crit damage. All of those are going to be pretty good. Just feel free to pick any of these and try to get as much of it on your gear, and you're going to be blasting. You're going to be doing a lot of damage. You're going to be pretty tanky, and it's going to be a really fun build. So that's pretty much it for this video. That was really straightforward, almost no mistake. This was a really, really good one. I hope you appreciate it. If you've been enjoying these little video, feel free to like the video. Feel free to like it. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be posting a ton of Diablo 4 content in the upcoming weeks, months, and years. This is going to be a main source of content for the channel on YouTube, but also on Twitch. I'm streaming on Twitch every single day, usually from 11 a.m. EST, every single day, 7 days a week. I take some days off sometimes, don't worry. But yeah, I stream a lot on Twitch. We're going to do a lot of Diablo as soon as Diablo release. We're going to have the Support a Streamer event. If you want to get your mount by gifting subs, we're going to have also the Twitch drop. So that's going to be pretty cool. All 4 weeks of Twitch drop are going to be available for all the classes. That's going to be really, really good. And that's pretty much it. Make sure you leave a comment down below if you enjoy the guide, if you have suggestion, criticism, or if you just want to say hello as well. That's a possibility, right? Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in Sanctuary, my friend.